Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to PRIDECAST. I am your host, Tony Lopez, and on today's PRIDECAST, we have the actual love of my life, Emily Molina. She has been in Scream, the interactive show, and Love Story, and she has slayed every single time. Fantastic. We love to have you. How are you doing, Emily?
I am doing good. I have been traveling a lot lately, so I'm very tired, but I'm doing really good. Having a really
Slay.
fulfilling summer.
What is your gender identity and sexual orientation, if you're comfortable with sharing?
Of course, my sexuality is pansexual, and my gender identity is I am female. I go by she, her pronouns.
What is your journey in theater and your queer identity, and has one ever influenced the other?
Well, I guess I'll start with my queer identity, my journey of that.
Mhm.
It started really, really young, I would say. I think I just always knew I was not straight. And um, I realized, I felt more comfortable with the term pansexual when I was like in seventh grade. And before that, I would say I was bisexual, but I was like, maybe not, maybe I'm just a lesbian, or maybe I'm straight. I don't know. I was just really confused for like maybe like 4 years, 5 years. And then I heard that word pansexual, and I was like, oh my God, that's me. And I was like, slay. And so I've always identified with pansexual since then, since I was like 12, 13 years old. And with theater, I mean, I started getting into theater in high school. And I will say they kind of correlated a little bit because a lot of my friends are queer and a lot of my friends were in theater, and they kind of influenced me to be in it, or like they kind of influenced me to be like, oh, maybe you would like this. And I did. And I wouldn't say a lot of it correlated. I think with the people it did for me. I think the people in my life that were queer were also just in theater, and they just really wanted to show their creative outlet in theater. So that's how that journey was for me. Um, I also had a little bit of confusion with my gender when I was younger, but I realized that was a completely different thing. And I just like being girly, and I like my girly outfits and girly things and yada yada yada. And I realized that I can still be masculine even though I identify as a feminine woman.
Okay, Emily, let's dive a little into you as a storyteller. What is your creative process? I know you primarily act, but if you direct, do movement, anything like that, how do you break down the stories that you decide you want to tell?
Um, I mean, I act a lot more, but I used to sing more than act. That was my main thing and the main thing I always wanted to do with my life. And I think like the stories I wanted to tell, if it comes with my identity, was to like, I guess not like to show that it's okay to be you and you shouldn't care what other people have to say about who you are. Because at the end of the day, as long as you can live with yourself, who the fuck cares what anybody else thinks? Die alone with yourself. Like you have to live on your own and you have to learn to love yourself regardless. So, trying to figure out who you are and trying to figure out your identity, that is something that's supposed to be special to a person, and nobody else should judge them of that. And you shouldn't care what other people's opinions are. And I think that was something I think I've always wanted to say in a story with music, and now with acting. Now it's like a new love for me, acting. And yeah, that's always been a story I wanted to portray. It's just love thyself, love oneself.
What are your biggest influences as a creator? That could be like an artist. You mentioned that you start with music, so are there any musicians or any stories that sort of you kind of pull from every now and then, or that inspire you?
Mm. I will say one would be Miley Cyrus for sure. I love that woman. I have loved her since I was like 3 years old, and I love her so fucking much, and loved her even more when she even came out queer herself. And I don't know, I feel like she changes the music industry all the time. Also, another person I also really loved when I was really young was Halsey, who is also gay. She's bisexual, I believe, but I could be wrong. And she also uses she, they pronouns, and they have really also changed the music industry, and I feel like changed a lot for me. She meant a lot to me at a young age, at the ripe age of 13, and her music really spoke to me. And I would say her music from the beginning was always queer coded. It's so good. I love it. I love that she's always portrayed that she has been in love with women from the beginning, even back in like what, 2013, 2014 time
Right.
when it wasn't that openness of artists being like, "Oh yeah, I also like women and men. Like I like both and who gives a fuck?" So I love her for that as well.
In what ways does your identity influence your work?
I think my identity influences my work as to what roles I would like to do in my future, in my career, whether it's my ethnicity, whether it's my gender or my sexuality. I definitely would want to portray roles that speak to me and that make me feel like I'm also being seen. Because something I just always noticed in like, TV and film, I feel like they have gotten so much better, obviously, and putting in more LGBTQ roles all the time. But when it comes to these other sexualities or gender identities, they don't really portray them a lot in TV media, especially pansexuality. I
Mhm.
think I've only seen one character on a very hit TV show that's been pansexual, and that was Sex Education. And that was like, oh my God, for me. I was just like, oh my God, she's pan. Me too, girl. Like, slay. So I feel like in the future, when the long run comes, I would also like to portray roles of people that look like me, identify as me in any way, shape, or form.
As I mentioned earlier, you worked on the interactive show or Scream, and you've also worked in love stories. You can take both of these as you would like. But of those, what challenges did you face as a creative, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I guess the biggest one was that Scream was the first show I have ever done. So that was definitely something I had to get used to. I didn't realize how much I wanted to and loved acting until the end of my high school career. And so going into college, I was fucking terrified because I was like, oh, these people have been acting since they were like at fucking, I don't know, out of the womb, I guess. I don't know. And I was just really happy that I got a chance to even show that I can do it. And it even showed myself that I can do it. And this wasn't just some stupid pipe dream. So I feel like with Scream, that was just my biggest thing, was just being able to actually do it. And with Love Story, I feel like the biggest struggle for that one for me was just that I haven't sang in like years. It's been years since I've actually performed in front of people, especially with singing and musical theater. And obviously, I didn't think I would ever do it again. And
Right.
so doing it again made me realize, like, oh, I can literally do whatever I want and go on whatever pathway I want to do.
Right.
Um, and the only person that's stopping me is myself, and I just have to like actually make the leap for it. So that's what I've learned from both shows, is just have more confidence, I guess.
Is there a project that Cosmos put on that wasn't your own, but you thought was particularly eye-catching?
I would definitely say The Author. I remember that when I went to go see it, I was just like, damn, I wish I was in it. Like I loved the script so much. It was so well like thought out with like the plot line and the dialogue. I was in love with it all the way through. It was great.
Okay, Cosmos' slogan is "Make Your Own Yes." We were very much founded on the idea of we want to make theater, but we don't have anywhere to make it, so we're gonna do it ourselves. So, what does "Make Your Own Yes" mean for you?
I guess just make your own path and not feel bad for doing it. Your first priority should be yourself, and you shouldn't feel bad for making yourself your first priority in any situation,
Right.
because other people are doing it too. So I think what that means to me is just to be able to continue your path with no regrets.
Right.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
this is not just for Cosmo, but for all of the theater you've experienced thus far. You've already kind of touched on
Mhm.
it, but do you feel represented? And if not, why?
I do in a way, yes, because I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, theater hasn't done anything for the queer community or they haven't done anything for women or anything like that, because that'll just be a lie.
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like there has been a lot of stepping stones I feel like theater has done for the queer community and for the LGBT community and as a whole, and letting a lot of these young theater kids that are gay um, feel like there's a space for them that they can be in. And I felt that way as well when I when I joined theater. But do wish that there was like more representation with other sexualities in the theater world.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we'll get there. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't think we ever will. I think one day, or people write all the time, there's gonna definitely be some playwriter that has the idea to write a play about somebody that's maybe omnisexual or somebody that is pansexual, somebody that has these different identities than just gay and lesbian and bi. And yeah, I just feel like there's a lot more stepping stones to like create in the theater world, but I think they've done a tremendous job already. So
We have a silly question to end our show here. It's the
okay.
host's job to think of them on the spot. So we're gonna go ahead. If you remember them, this will be the first shot I take at a silly question, but if you remember them, do you have a favorite season of Hannah Montana?
Oh, season 3.
Oh, why?
Season 3 has the best episodes. It's when Oliver and Lily get together. It's when Hannah Montana makes her best music. I remember that prom episode where she's like supposed to like go with this guy, and then she's like, no, I gotta record a song with David Archuleta, but then she like says, no, David Archuleta, I have to go to prom and go out with this guy. And it's like a really good song. And she also got her bangs that era. So it was slay after slay. Love season 3.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. We thank you
Of
for all
course.
the work that you do. We love you. Do you have any parting words for our lovely slays watching?
No, I hope you all have a good day and slay the day away.
So real. This has been a Pridecast, a show by Cosmo to highlight the best and brightest of our troupe. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to make your own yes and to slay so hard.